أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. So welcome to lesson 3 of our classical Arabic for the Holy Qur'an online lecture series. So assuming that you've looked over the first couple of lessons and been familiarized with the concepts, the grammatical concepts involved, become as competent as you can be, as well as having tried the exercises and learned the vocabulary quite well. We should be moving on to this lesson now, where today, this lesson, we'll be looking at basic pronouns and plurals, inshallah. So an overview of today's lesson, we're going to be, as mentioned, looking at pronouns, or in Arabic, ضمير, and in the plural, ضمائر. So if you remember, in Arabic, plurals look quite different to the singular. So we have here ضمير as the singular and ضمائر as the plural. And the structure of the words look quite different from each other, and we're going to actually be looking at this in detail today. Which brings us to the next topic, plurality and number. So in Arabic, we have singular words, mufrad, which is just one, duals or muthanna, which refers to just two, and then plurals, jamma', which refers to 3 plus. So if an object is just by itself a singular thing, it'll be singular. If there are 2 of those objects or things, it'll be classified as dual. And if there's 3 up to whatever number, ongoing, unlimited, it comes under the category of plural. So looking at pronouns today, the ضمير or ضمائر, and then looking at how plurality and number work. So here we have a sentence, and based on our first couple of lectures, we should be quite competent with analyzing these sentences. So let's start with the part up here. We have هذا رجل full stop هو قوي. So the first part of this sentence we've already seen before. It's an ism Isharah, هذا, which means this, and we should know that it's in the ism Isharah that's used for the masculine, the mudhakkar. Why? Because what we're referring to in this sentence, rajulun, which means a man, is a masculine word, mudhakkar word. So as if we remember, genders need to match with each other. And some other features of this word here, rajulun, some other features would be being indefinite or nakira, and it's also a singular word, meaning one man, a man. And we'll see today how we can turn these words like rajulun into the plural or many men. Now this second part of the sentence is where we're focusing on here. Huwa qawiyun. So this is a new word here. Huwa. Huwa is a pronoun or a ضمير. Now there are quite a few features to discuss about the type of pronoun this is, and we're not going to talk about all of them today. But for now, we're going to know that it's a pronoun and it's in the masculine. It's referring to a masculine object or thing in the sentence. Just as in هذا is a masculine demonstrative ism Isharah, so it's used to refer to masculine things in a sentence. Huwa is a pronoun to refer to masculine things in a sentence. And this pronoun in this context means he. Qawiyun means strong. So I can already see from here, because we know that is generally falls between the middle of the sentence, this would mean he, qawiyun, strong, and then we have our is. So he is strong, full stop. Now here's a similar sentence, but we're looking at the feminine this time. So again, we have a familiar sentence. هذه بنت. Now in this case, هذه اسم إشارة, but it's the feminine version, meaning this. So this is a girl. And then we're focusing on this part of the sentence. هي لطيفة. So now this here is another pronoun, الضمير. And it refers to a feminine object in a sentence. It means in this context, she. Latifatun means gentle. And if you remember, this is obviously a sifa, an adjective. It can take on the masculine form, latifun, or it can be in the feminine form, latifatun, depending on what gender you want it to be in that sentence. Now, because we're referring to a girl here, we've used here, meaning she, and latifatun, meaning gentle. So we can say here she, and then the sifa, gentle, and then we have our is that comes in that sentence in the middle. She is gentle. So this is a girl, she is gentle. So these are the two pronouns or ضمائر we have just looked at, هو and هي. The above words are basic pronouns. They are from the ism category and mean he and she. So keep in mind these are still from the ism category, these words that we looked at. Normally we would look at a word to see if it ends in a tanween, and that would be a good indication of whether it's an ism, because only the asma can take the tanween. However, in this case, there's no tanween on these words, but from the meaning, and we should recognize them, that they are from the ism category, because these words, huwa and hiya, do not change their structure. They always look the same. So we are going to be memorizing these pronouns as well as all the other ones to be able to recognize it straight away. So they generally mean he or she, as in the sentences we looked at previously. However, depending on the context, it can also mean it, if we're referring to a non-human thing. So these are some sentence formulas, like the ones we've looked at before. If we have a pronoun, like huwa or hiya, plus an indefinite adjective, we get a full nominal sentence. Just like the examples we looked at in the previous slides, we had, for example, huwa qawiyun, so there is that pronoun, the dhamir, plus the indefinite adjective or indefinite sifa. Why it's indefinite? Because of the tanween. So huwa qawiyun is a full sentence. It means he is strong. And in English, you can see that that is a full sentence by the way it sounds. Another full sentence we can get is a pronoun, this time adding to our adjective and making it into an actual indefinite mawsuf sifa phrase. That can also form a full sentence. So, for example, let's say we use that same example, same dhamir huwa, and then here we're going to have a mawsuf sifa phrase following it. So we can have rajulun qawiyun. Had to squeeze it onto the edge there. So this is a mawsuf sifa phrase. Why? Because it's two indefinite words, two indefinite isms. Both ends with a dhamma, tanween dhamma. both masculine or mudhakkar. So rajulun is masculine and qawiyun is the masculine sifa. And obviously we have an ism followed by a sifa in the first place. And both singular, one man, and the adjective is in the singular form. So we understand that this is a mawsuf sifa phrase. So we have a pronoun followed by a mawsuf sifa phrase. That can also give a full sentence. Huwa rajulun qawiyun. He is a strong man. And we can also have a pronoun plus a prepositional phrase to also give us a full sentence. So for example, let's use the dhamir here, which means she. And we want to say a prepositional phrase. We'll put fi هي في المدرسة. So this here is a prepositional phrase. We have a harf jar fi followed by the ism majroor, which has now taken a kasra, and it means in the school. When we add the dhamir here at the front, it would mean she is in the school. And you can see that's a full nominal sentence. هي في المدرسة, she is in the school. So these are some more sentence formulas to know off by heart by now. As the course progresses, we will see why grammatically these actually are full sentences and how it fits into those grammatical rules of how to form a sentence. But for now, it's fine. It suffices to just know these kind of formulas. Now, we're going to firstly classify the dhamir, the pronoun. So we have the pronoun here, al-dhamir. It can be classified into two categories. First off, al-dhamir al-bariz, which is this one here, and al-dhamir al-mustatir, this one. So we'll just leave this one here for now. We'll focus on it a bit later, because today we're going to be focusing on this category here, which is further divided into munfasil and muttasil. Now you don't need to know this term like straight away. We can learn that with time and get familiar with it with time. For now, it suffices to know a dhamir that we're looking at is either munfasil or muttasil. And the technical meanings of these, the translation of these, would mean detached and attached. Okay, so we have detached pronouns or dhamir munfasil, or we'd have attached pronouns, dhamir muttasil. And we'll see how they work a bit later on. So the pronouns we've looked at now, huwa and hiya, they are detached pronouns. And you would have naturally seen that because they're actually detached from any other word. They're acting on their own in the sentence separately. So this sentence here we have هذا قلم, this is a pen. هو صغير, that's another sifa, صغير, which means small. Analyzing this sifa, we can see it's indefinite. So nakira, it's the masculine form of the sifa because there's no tamra muta. So this fits into that structure of pronoun plus indefinite adjective. So we formed a full sentence here because we have huwa صغير. Now notice in this case we wouldn't translate this pronoun as he, and because we're referring to a pen here. And a pen is not going to have a gender like he or she, but grammatically it's going to be treated as a masculine word, which is why huwa was used, but we would translate it as it. So we'd say this is a pen, it is small. And now we can say huwa is a ضمير منفصل, a detached pronoun. Okay, or we'd say ضمير منفصل. Now in this example here we have هذه ساعة, this is a watch. هي جميلة. If you remember, جميلة is a صفة that means beautiful. It's in the feminine form because of the ta marbuta. Why are we all using feminines here? Because in the end we're talking here about a ساعة, which is a watch, and it's a feminine word, مؤنث. It's got the ta marbuta, which is why هذه was used, which is why the pronoun or ضمير here will be used, as well as the feminine form of the صفة. So everything is matching in genders. Now in this case here is also a ضمير منفصل, a detached pronoun. As you can see, it's not attached to any other word, it's by itself. And I wouldn't translate it again here as she, I would translate it as it. Because even though the word ساعة is a مؤنث feminine word, it's not male or female in terms of its actual gender, because it's a non-human thing, which is why we wouldn't say she is beautiful, even though that's one of the ways of translating here. We would use it here. Even if it means it, just like the previous slide was it as well, it's still in the context of feminine words grammatically. So just to kind of sum up what we just spoke about, we have هذا قلم هو صغير. Everything here is masculine. هذه ساعة هي جميلة. Everything here is feminine, and every single part of this sentence is matching each other with its gender. The feminine ism Isharah is used for a feminine word, feminine pronoun, and feminine sifa. Here, the masculine or mudhakkar form of the ism Isharah, masculine word, masculine pronoun, and masculine sifa. So here's again a little passage for us to read and translate. So it's a little exercise for you. Notice that I again have taken off the harakat, the tashkil, the little vowel markings. As I mentioned previously, we want to start getting ourselves slowly used to reading things without the harakat, so that we can gradually start working towards more difficult texts where they're in Arabic, where there isn't those vowel markings, diacritical markings. So you might notice some of these words already, just the structure and the letters of them, and you would know how to pronounce them. So for example here, you can see straight away that looks like hada, even though you don't see the fatha. So try to read this, and keeping in mind that the case endings are very important as well. And then maybe you can first write this down as it is, and then add the harakat, and then read it, and then see how you go with my answers. So pause the video at this moment and give it a go. So we'll go through this. First of all, we know that this is هذا, and this doesn't change. The vowel marking at the end, the fatha, will not change. So that's always going to be هذا. This is رجل, and because it's there's no reason to indicate otherwise. There's nothing acting on this word before it, like for example, a harf jar is not over here. We will put this as rajulun. And we can see there's no alif lam here, so which is why we put the tanween. هذا رجل و, that's just the conjunction there. هذه, we should recognize that just by the structure of the word, and this won't change either. That'll always be a kasra there. Now this is imra'atun. Just like rajulun, it's also in the indefinite nakira form, and it's also a dhamma because there's nothing before the word to change that. For example, if there was a harf jar before the word imra'atun or rajulun, it would obviously be in a kasra form, but there's nothing like that. Hada and hadihi do not act grammatically on the word that comes after. It doesn't affect the case ending, so we can keep it with the dhamma. And this is a hamzatul wasl, so we would obviously pronounce this. So hada rajulun wa hadihim ra'atun. This, there's full stop, so we'll translate this part first. This is a man, and so the conjunction waw means and. This is a woman. Ar-rajulu. Now, because in the beginning of the sentence we refer to a man, indefinite. As we continue the sentence, now obviously the listener is going to know which man we're talking about. It might have been, for example, someone introducing this man and this woman. Now the listener knows who this man and woman are, so we can put it into the definite form, into the ma'rifah form, which is why we end it with a singular dhamma. Can't put a tanween here. And again, there's no reason for this to be any other harakah, so we keep it as a dhamma. Ar-rajulu. We can see this is a sifa. Aminun. It follows that sentence structure of definite noun plus indefinite sifa makes a full sentence, which is why this is a full sentence. Ar-rajulu aminun. The man is trustworthy. Aminun means trustworthy. So this is a man and this is a woman, full stop. The man is trusty. Huwa, so this doesn't change the structure, we should know that. Fi, again, that doesn't change either, it's a harf jar. And because the harf jar, it's going to be doing some sort of action on this following ism majroor. Fi baytin. So this word, I think we've seen this before, bayt. We should recognize from seeing a ba and a ya and a ta that it should be bayt. And we should know the harakah to put here because it's a harf jar, so the final letter needs to take the kasra, baytin. And there's no alif lam, which is why I put the tanween, fi baytin. So translating, huwa would mean he is in a house. Baytin means a house. So who's in a house? He is, the man, because the dhamir, one way of functioning with a dhamir or a pronoun, and this is obviously in English as well, is that we don't have to repeat the word ar-rajul, the man, we don't have to repeat it within the sentence again and again. Every time we say huwa, now the person knows we're referring to this man here. It's a known object now, it's definite. So anytime we see huwa something in the rest of this passage, we would know we're talking about that man. Just like in this case here, when we continue, we have wa, huwa, ma'a. So harf jar, we should have recognized. Now we'll skip this hamza wasl. Ma'al mar'ati. So this is the definite or ma'rifah form of imra'atun. I explained before why when we add the alif lam it looks like this. It becomes al-mar'ati. Takes the kasra because we have a harf jar ma'a acting on this word. So this here is a prepositional phrase, a jar wa majroor. And we can see this is a full sentence. Because remember the formula, pronoun plus prepositional sentence makes a full sentence. So wa huwa ma'al mar'ati. That part will translate as and he is with the woman. So this woman has already been introduced here, imra'atun. So now we can refer to it in the definite, the woman. The listener knows again now who this is. Next part of the sentence, al, and I can put a fatha here on the hamza wasl because it's the beginning of the sentence. Al-mar'atu. This takes the dhamma because it's the beginning of the sentence. There's no reason to indicate otherwise. Al-mar'atu. Now here we have a sifa. Mashhur was how we used this word before, meaning famous. We used it for a man previously. But because we're referring to a woman, we have the ta marbuta, so it becomes mashhura. Mashhura. And it stays with the dhamma, tun. So a definite noun plus an indefinite adjective. That would mean the woman is famous. Literally known. Here, so this is a dhamir. It means it or she. And we can see in this case, this pronoun here is referring to the woman because this woman now is known in the sentence. It's ma'rifah. So she muslimatun. This word muslim, muslima means Muslim, like the believer, the person who follows that faith, the submitter. So here muslimatun qawiyatun. We should be able to recognize here that we have a mawsuf sifa phrase. From a couple of reasons. We have an ism followed by a sifa. We should know that qawiyatun is a sifa, an adjective. And notice that they're following each other in those four things. There's two ta marbutas, there's two indefinite nouns together, there's two singular nouns together. So once we see those things, we should instantly recognize, okay, this is a mawsuf sifa phrase, and I'll be able to add the harakat there to match them on the fourth thing, which is the i'rab. So hiya muslimatun qawiyatun. She is a strong Muslim. Wa and fil. Wa fil. Put a dhamma here. Bayti. This harf jar, fi, is acting on this word here, al-bayti. Forces it to take the kasra. So pulling back a bit, she is a strong Muslim. And remember, we treat the phrases as one unit, so we don't separate them. She is a strong Muslim and in the house. ذَلِكَ, so ذَلِكَ, that doesn't change the structure. Bay, now this should be tun, because there's no reason to indicate otherwise. And notice here it's acting together with the next word to make a mawsuf sifa phrase. Kabirun. You notice these two match in those four things. You should notice straight off the bat without the harakat that they match in being indefinite nouns, ism and a sifa. They match in both being singular, they both match in being mudhakkar, masculine. So naturally, the last thing for the mawsuf sifa phrase is that they match in the haraka, so the dhamma. Because baytun had to take the dhamma, because there was nothing to indicate otherwise, and that's what caused kabirun to follow the mawsuf and take the dhamma as well. So whatever haraka the mawsuf has, the sifa just follows. It's like the follower. ذَلِكَ بَيْتٌ كَبِيرٌ. That is a big house. Where baytun, and again a mawsuf sifa phrase, عظيم, and a great house. This is actually a one sentence with the waw being the conjunction between. And we should recognize why this was a mawsuf sifa phrase. Just a little note here, we said here that is a big house and a great house. In English, we could have said that is a big, great house. There was no real reason to repeat baytun twice. So we'll talk about this later. The mawsuf sifa phrase could have had two sifas. So we could have had, we're talking here about baytun. Now the first sifa was kabirun. And instead of mentioning baytun again, I don't have to do that. I can actually just put the next sifa and make it baytun kabirun azimun, which would mean a big great house. So I mentioned the baytun twice in the passage, but I didn't need to. You can add as many sifas as you want here, as many adjectives, just like in English. You can say that is a big house and that is a big house and a great house. Or I could have said that is a big great house. I could have said 20 adjectives together. That is a big, great, beautiful, appealing, colorful, brown house, for example. Same in Arabic. I don't have to mention baytun again and again each time. I can just keep adding the sifas. As long as each sifa matches each other, matches the original word in those four things, that is perfectly fine. And it will still be considered one mawsuf sifa phrase. So it'll be treated as one unit together in the sentence, and they would always be together. You can't change, you can't tear them apart in the sentence and put them around. So I know it looks a bit messy, but we should be able to recognize these phrases and words in these sentences, most of them. And just the important thing is when you notice a word, look to the next word and see if it's a phrase. And you should notice that with, for example, the mawsuf sifa, or if you see a harfun jar, there must be a word after it that it's acting on, and put those together. Try to match the haraka accordingly. And as we get more and more familiar with our vocabulary, word structures, and expand our grammatical knowledge, our sentences will become more elaborate and difficult than this one, and we'll still be able to read it with the correct haraka. Someone who's very proficient and competent in Arabic language obviously would, a sentence like this, and obviously much more difficult passages and sentences, they would read it without even thinking about the haraka at the end of the words. When you get to that level, it just becomes natural. That obviously takes a lot of time, but inshallah. So we spoke about the dhamir or dhama'ir, the pronouns. We're going to talk about plurals now. So plurals or al-jam' refer to 3 or more. 3 plus. Could be 4, 5, 6, 7, on and as much as you want. So the two most common types of plurals in Arabic are the sound plural, al-jammu salim, and the broken plural, al-jammu mukassar, or it can also be called al-jammu taksir, which literally means the broken, cut up plural. So sound plurals, this one here, are upon a single pattern, whilst broken plurals have many different patterns and involve changes in vowel structure. So we'll look at some examples. But basically the sound plural, which is further broken up into the jamul mudhakkar salim, and then the sound feminine plural, jamul muannath salim, and they're on a certain pattern. And we're going to look at those first. And it's very simple. For those kind of words, you get the singular, you add that extra couple of letters at the end of the word, and it turns into either the sound masculine plural or the sound feminine plural. It's actually very easy. It's like in English adding an S or an ES to the end of a word. The broken plural, on the other hand, involves quite a big change in the vowel structure and the letters of the word. Even though there are a certain number of patterns that we can use, you can't know from looking at a singular word which broken plural pattern it will take. You have to memorize that as well. So it's a bit more tricky, and even though we can try to look at some certain patterns with the broken plural, the best thing to do would be to always memorize a singular word with its plural. You would do that together. You would never memorize just a singular word by itself and not memorize the plural along with it. So the good news is sound plurals are quite easy. So this type of plural, at least compared to the broken plural, is a lot easy. The bad news is the vast majority of asma, or nouns, words in Arabic, are under the broken plural form. So a lot more memorizing to do. So before we move on, we need to also discuss this concept here. An additional plural form is the collective, ismul jama'. So this is when we refer to a singular noun that gives a plural meaning. So for example, the word qawmun. Qawmun means a tribe. And if we consider a tribe, now this tribe could be made up of dozens or even hundreds of people. So it's a single tribe, but in that tribe are many people. And there are words like this, where you have a single unit, like a country, for example, and in that country there are many people. You can have a group with, say, 10 people. You can consider that group as a single unit, or you can consider each individual in that group. Same way with a tribe, you can have one single tribe and consider it as one unit, or you can consider each individual in that tribe. Now, if you consider just the tribe as one unit by itself, you would treat it as a singular or mufrad word. So in this example here, al-qawmu hadirun. Hadirun means it's a sifa, an adjective meaning present. Or it could mean ready as well, depending on the context, how you want to use it. But it's talking about describing the qawm here. But notice here, it's in the singular form, hadirun, because al-qawmu is being treated as a single unit here. So we're just taking the word itself to mean one single tribe unit. But if you consider each individual within that tribe separately, we would treat this as a plural. So qawmun, even though it's a singular word, it now gets treated as a plural. So it's followed by salihuna, which is in the plural form. I'll be explaining very shortly why that is, but just know that this word here, salihuna, is a plural. So qawmun here has been treated as a plural word grammatically. Now, not all words obviously go by this rule. This is only when it comes to words where you can take it as meaning a single unit, or you can break up that unit to mean many things inside that unit individually, in which case you take the plural form. And we're going to also, before we start looking at the structure of plural forms, we'll look at the plural forms of the ism Isharah. Now, the good thing about these kind of words, when it comes to pronouns or ism Isharahs, their structures don't change. So just like we mentioned that هذا and هذه never changes its structure, it's always the same harakah, same letters, there's no change in the structure ever. And these are obviously the singulars. In the same way, the dual and plural forms of these kinds of words, I'll give you the technical name for that later, but the plural forms also run upon one single structure. So هذا and هذه means this, it's in the singular form. The plural form is هؤلاء. And the good news is you only have to memorize the one word for the plural because it applies for both the feminine and the masculine. So هؤلاء is the plural ism Isharah for this. We could say, these would be the way of translating these. And that's used for both masculine and feminine words. There's not a separate one for each gender. So this is actually from the Quran, هؤلاء, and you'll notice it quite a lot. It's the plural form of هذا or هذه. The plural forms of ذلك or تلك is أولئك, which also never changes its structure, and it applies for both. It can be used for both masculine or feminine. There's not a separate form for each. And if ذلك and تلك means that, then أولئك will be translated as those because it's a plural form. We're referring to more than three or more things. Just also remember, and we'll get to this later, that the ism Isharah also has a dual form, which looks different than أولئك, and we'll cover those a bit later. So let's look at some examples, sentence examples. We have هذا رجل, which means this is a man. رجل is indefinite and it's in the singular form. So referring to one man here, just one. Now if we're referring to a group of three or more men, this is obviously in the plural. Now notice some changes in the words. هذا becomes هؤلاء, and رجل, which was a single man, becomes رجال. So this now means these are men. So in English, obviously, there's a few changes as well. Is becomes are, and man becomes men. This is a broken plural form. If you notice that رجل, it changed quite a lot of its harakah. Took a kasra now, and there's a little alif mad added. So رجال means men, plural form. Now just like genders have to match, هذا is masculine, رجل is masculine, مذكر. Here, the masculine forms need to be matching each other, the genders throughout. Just like the plurality needs to match, so does the genders as well. Another example, هذه بنت. So this is a girl, so one girl. The changes, هذه becomes هؤلاء, and بنت becomes بنات, which means many girls now. So these are girls. Just notice those changes in the words to make them into the plural. And bintun you would memorize in your vocab as meaning girl, and then you'd memorize it along with the plural banatun. Keep in mind that, again, just like in the singular, how there's no tabar muta, but we still treat it as a feminine word because of being inherently female. The same goes for the plural. Another example, ذَلِكَ وَلَدٌ. That is a boy. All singulars here. Now the plural form of ذَلِكَ was أُولَئِكَ, so plural. And waladun, the plural, against a broken plural, you can see quite a change to the structure. Becomes awladun. So now it's those are boys, referring to 3 or more. So notice the changes in the sentence to make it go from singular to plural. Here, tilka imra'atun. You would say that is a woman, or singulars. The plurals become, again, doesn't matter about the gender. Here, ulaika is used for the masculine and the feminine. So ulaika nisa'un. So look at quite a big change for imra'atun to go to the plural. Becomes nisa'un. So those are women. So those were just a brief, I guess, exposure to broken plurals, which we'll come to a bit later. So let's focus on the sound plurals, that first form of plurals that I spoke about. Now these are less common in the Arabic language, but they are much easier to conjugate. So if you look here, and this is taken from an ayah in the Qur'an, Al-mu'minuna wal-mu'minatu. That's a very common thing you'll see in the Qur'an. So they're in the plural form. So let's have a look. We have al-mu'minu. This is singular. Al-mu'minatu, singular. So referring to believers here. The mu'min is the believer. So al-mu'min or al-mu'minu is in the masculine form, mudhakkar. This one's in the feminine, al-mu'minatu. Why? Because of the tanabuta. Essentially, these are the same words, same meaning, just one's referred to masculine, one's referred to feminine. Now, when we want to change these two words into a plural, these take the sound plural structure. So, al-mu'minu becomes al-mu'minuna. Basically, the waw and noon were added to the ends to make it going from one believer to now 3 or more believers. I didn't say 2 because there's a dual form as well. We're talking about plural, the jam', 3 or more. Al-mu'minu becomes al-mu'minuna for the masculine. So this is a sound masculine plural. Al-mu'minatu becomes al-mu'minatu. This took the alif there and the ta. Al-mu'minatu. So this is a plural form for female believers. So if we had, let's say 3, let's say even 5 male believers here in a group, we would use al-mu'minuna for this. If we had a group of, let's say 4 female believers, we would say al-mu'minatu. Now this brings us to the question, what if you have a mix of both genders? If there is a mix of males and females, let's say believers here, in this case, you would use the masculine form. You'd still say al-mu'minuna, even if there are males and females mixed in that group. In fact, interestingly, in this group here with 4 female believers, even if you add just 1 male believer there, when referring to this group, you would now refer to the masculine plural, al-mu'minuna, even though there's a majority female there. So in Arabic grammar, that's just the rule that it works. Here's another example from the Quran. You'll see this word a lot, ظَالِمُونَ. So ظَالِمٌ is the singular, the mufrad. You should be familiar with these terms as well. And it's the masculine or mudhakkar. Why? Because it doesn't have a ta marbuta at the end. So ظالم would be used as a sifa, as a describing word, an adjective, which means that it could have also been ظالمة or ظالمة if we were referring to a feminine object, female object. Obviously in this context here, in the ayah, what's being referred to needs to be in the masculine. Now ظالم becomes ظالمون. We just add the waw and nun to make it into the plural. Now with the sifa, it's not that there are many, for example, you can say the word big or kabir has its plural form. That doesn't mean many big. Something like big or large, being a pure describing adjective word, it can't be multiplied. You know, it's a concept, intangible thing in the end, and not a clear object. It's only for the purposes of matching in the plurality in the sentence. So when you, obviously if it was a mawsuf sifa phrase, they need the sifa to match the mawsuf in being plural. That's why we have the plural forms for the sifa, just for matching purposes. So to sum that up, the sound masculine plural, we just add the waw nun, una to the end. And for the sound feminine plural, we drop the ta marbuta and we add the alif ta to it. So this example here, the feminine, we just drop the ta marbuta and add the alif ta. Whereas in the masculine, we just simply add the waw nun at the ends, and obviously the haraka here will have to change accordingly. And these are always on that same pattern. So this brings us to the end of the first part of the lecture. In the second part, so once you familiarize yourself with the concepts in this lecture, you can move on to part B of this lecture, where we'll start looking at the broken plurals, which are a little bit more tricky, and then we'll wrap up the lesson inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.